All right, welcome back to Gluten-free Radio. What was funny about that?
You went with it.
What?
This is awesome.
Have you noticed how gluten-free has been it's like the new hippie thing? It's like the new scapegoat, you know?
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah, it's
at
weird.
The same time.
Yeah, it's weird because people will be like, oh, you must eat gluten-free if you think that way or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a food. It's just a thing you put in your body. It's weird.
And I'll admit, before I realized I had an allergy thing going on, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's just trendy, whatever. Yeah. And sure enough, I ended up, maybe it was karma.
Yeah.
I ended up with an allergy to gluten. So it's not been fun, man. I actually had a reaction last night because here lately I've been trying to dabble, get a little bit more and get back into it, trying to see if maybe I can, get my immunity back or however the heck it works. And there's been a couple times where I'll have a beer or I'll have something with bread.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me that much. But last night I went a little overboard and man, I had a distended stomach, face turned red. It was not fun. It's painful.
Man.
Not fun.
Yeah, I imagine that's tough because I mean, that's what's weird about it is they're like people like you are actually allergic to it. Yeah. And it's not just some trendy thing. I guess it came out of that basically. It's because there are a growing number of people who are allergic to it. But then people realize that it's kind of a healthier thing to do anyways, if you can, because gluten is basically like the glue, basically, right? Essentially that's in wheat.
It's like an amino acid protein, whatever you want to call it. I think amino acids build proteins, but anyways, it's the thing that kind of keeps bread together. Yeah. If you get gluten-free bread, it gets a little bit of moisture in it, and it just starts falling apart.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But some of it tastes better actually. There's a place in Nashville that has gluten-free muffins. I'll get those sometimes. They're more expensive, but
is that the one you gave me?
Yeah,
yeah. That thing was amazing. Pretty good, isn't it? It was more moist than a regular muffin.
Yeah, they did a good job with them. But they're it's like gluten-free stuff is more filling. I've noticed or something.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've noticed, and even if I did get to a point where I could eat more of it, or I miss beer. That's the thing I miss the most. If I could drink beer again, I'd be happy.
Well, they have some gluten-free beers.
Yeah, and some of them are actually pretty good. Yeah, they taste just like it. I've been doing the cider and hard liquor thing. Yeah. So, but if I can get back to that point, I don't know if I'll go full in like I was before, because the biggest thing I notice is I'm sharper. Like I'm able to think quicker on my feet without the gluten. So
people take for granted how important the food that you put into your body is. Like everyone's heard that quote, "Oh, you are what you eat." Yeah. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's such a cute quote. It makes so much sense," but nobody actually really thinks about it a lot of times. It does make a huge difference. I mean, a lot of food that we eat, I forget what it is. It's like a combination of certain meats and bread and stuff. Basically, creates alcohol in your intestines and makes you feel sluggish. Yeah, you're basically drunk off of your own food. Yep. And that's why everybody's tired of hearing the vegans on their high horse and stuff. But it's like with anything, extremes can be good because they can help push you in a direction that is good. And that doesn't mean you want to go all the way, but it can help you to see the light on some of those kinds of things, because eating a lot of vegetables definitely makes a big difference if you do it.
Before we go any farther with this, we got to keep our community happy. Gun. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Bullets.
Yes. Ammunition.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Magazines. Fully loaded. So about that gluten,
that's going to be the next. There's going to be. I haven't told you this yet, but there's going to be a Hickok 45 TV show, and it's called Hickok 45 Fully Loaded.
That's awesome.
It's going to be on history.
Yes.
It's going to be just drama. And it's going to be like a bunch of just really senseless.
You and your dad screaming at each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what That's what today's people. That's what they love.
Right. Fake stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The reality shows, it's like you take one redneck family, get them off the couch, right? Pay them to go out and do a bunch of just random stuff that's interesting, so that every other redneck family will stay on their couch.
Wow, I didn't think of it like that.
That's how it works.
And if you stay on your couch, you see more commercials. You see more commercials. You buy more stuff.
We're figuring it out. But
there you go.
What I was going to say with the food though is like, it is funny how it's like popular in the media to make fun of people who care about certain aspects of food like vegan or gluten-free, all that kind of stuff. Right. And I get it because sometimes those people can be like, oh, I eat gluten-free or I'm vegan, or what, they have a very elitist attitude. So that's where it comes from. And it makes sense.
It becomes an attachment and a label that boosts their own ego.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's not necessarily, I don't even talk about it. People just look at me crazy when I order a cider at a bar.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And I kind of got to explain it. I try to avoid talking about it at all.
Yeah.
Because it's a pain in the rear.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Because the way it comes across.
In many ways.
Yeah.
The next morning, it's an extreme pain in the rear.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I think I may have talked about it on our show once. And then the only time it ever comes up is if people say, why are you taking the bread off that burger? Or why are you carb free, whatever? No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But, the food you put in your body, aside from your situation is different because you're actually allergic to it.
Yeah.
But as far as just if you're.
And the last time I went to the doctor too, because I told him I was trying to eat a little bit of it here and there.
Yeah.
He said maybe it's less of an allergy and it's more of an intolerance, but I'm having allergic reactions.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if I'm having allergic reactions,
what's the
isn't
difference?
that an allergy? But I don't know. You know how it is. The gluten allergy thing came out of the blue.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of people were talking about it, and then all of a sudden a couple years ago, boom, gluten. Everybody's allergic.
So it does seem like a trend. So I definitely get that side of it, people looking at it like a negative thing. But the truth is, when it comes to some of those kinds of things, especially with food, is they come out of something real. I mean, people go on their high horse, but there is a reason why some people do it. So, I'm not gluten free. I eat gluten, but sometimes I try not to.
Yeah.
And I'm not vegan, but I try to eat more, raw vegetables and, not as much meat, more fish and stuff like that. Because it is amazing what difference food makes. There was a period where, and it's so hard to do. It's so hard, at least for me. There was a period where I was eating like a big plate of just raw organic vegetables every day. Right. I felt amazing, just amazing. Like I could breathe clear and just. Oh man, just life felt great, But man, it was so hard to keep.
We get suckered into all the crap food, and that's one thing I don't get. And maybe it's an addiction thing on my part. I've never had a battle with any kind of addiction.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But it may be food if I have one, because I do the same thing. I bought a juicer recently. Well, recently, over a year ago.
Yeah.
I started using it again recently.
Yeah.
Dude, when I'm drinking, I'll take kale, tomatoes, a whole apple, 5 or 6 carrots. And cucumbers, and I'll blend that in the juicer and drink that every morning. When I drink that, man, I feel like I'm shot of a cannon for all day long. And I'll do it for about a week, and then I'll be busy and running around, and I'm like, crap, I'm starving, I'm hooked up. There's Golden Arches, McDonald's.
Exactly.
And it's like, as soon as I get done eating, I feel guilt. I feel like, oh my God, why did I do that? I'm not on my game the rest of the day. It's just like, why in the hell did I even think of doing that and it being healthy?
I know.
There's so many things that, it's the old computer adage, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
If you put garbage in your body, you get garbage out. But I mean, if people watching this on YouTube, they can see that I'm not exactly putting clean, healthy stuff in this house.
Yeah, me either. I eat too much pizza. It's just too good. It's too damn good.
It is. It's amazing.
It's hard to turn it down. And in a way, it almost is like an addiction. Like you said, to like an actual real addiction.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have control.
Yeah, really, because our body craves some of the stuff that food has, like sugar. Mm-hmm. There's actually some cultures where sugar is not even considered a food; it's considered a drug.
Yeah,
and there's been some studies that come out recently where sugar has been shown in the right doses to have the same effects as cocaine.
You mentioned something about the human body craving substances.
Yeah.
Typically what happens is if you're low on a certain vitamin or nutrient or protein or whatever mineral, your body says, hey, I need this. But your brain doesn't interpret it. He needs calcium, go drink some milk. Yeah. Your brain goes, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And so what do? What's the quickest, easiest, fastest? If you're out on the road, it's typically fast food. That's my issue. Not everybody watching this does. So you eat that fast food thinking all you thought was I'm hungry, I just need food in my belly. But the problem is after that food gets done processing, your body's like, hey, I needed calcium, vitamin C, and this. You didn't give me any of that. Now you're hungry again. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle that goes on. That's why, I mean, there's a lot of times I'll be out and I'll eat fast food. 2 hours later, I'm starving.
Yeah, I've had that before.
Yeah, it's because you didn't give your body what it was craving.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like you didn't get the vitamin D, the protein, the whatever.
Yeah.
I noticed when I started working out again, one of the main things you need to rebuild muscle after you work out is protein. Well, if I eat something that has zero protein in it, I'm immediately starving right afterwards because my body's like, no, doofus. I wanted this. I didn't want that.
Yeah. I didn't want a bunch of melted cheese and tomato sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's what sucks is like pizza is my favorite food. And we really think about what pizza is. It's like bread,
it's a
tomato sauce, and
pie
just with melted,
with sugary tomato sauce.
Yeah. Stale milk.
Yes. And rotted milk.
Rotted milk. A big gob of it. Oh, it's so good.
Sometimes if you get pepperoni, you're getting like processed pig parts and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And who knows what those
with a little spice in that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to eat pizza again after this.
I know.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, see, I always say that, man, I shouldn't eat. I always like have regret after I eat something like that. So, not always, but sometimes, because I'm like, what did I get out of this? I could have done something else that was as pleasurable, maybe. But now my body just feels horrible. But still, I just keep coming back to it. It's so good.
It's evil. Food is evil.
It is.
No, it's not.
That's the moral of this story.
It's my fault. I need to be stronger.
No, it's always the item.
It's the substance fault.
It's always the item. It's the substance's fault. It's never us.
That's hey, gun people, here we go.
Yeah.
I think as human nature, it's a knee-jerk reaction to blame the thing.
Because we're lazy. Right. We're inherently just lazy.
We don't want to blame what the real issue was, which is the person. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard anybody argue food and gun control at the same time.
That's true. It's funny.
We may have stumbled onto something.
It might have. It's funny how many things you can that do relate, when it comes to that. Yeah.
Because, I mean, seriously, there's times when I blame, the key lime pie that's on the counter. Oh, I can't believe we had that out on the counter. I'm weak. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm going to blame that, that's my fault.
Yeah.
I might as well blame guns for shootings, which is not the way it works. It's the person's fault. So, and I know it's my fault. I know it's my fault. I'll take that pie and stick it in my mouth. But all 7 pieces.
Right.
An entire pizza. But hey, we're tall. We got to feed it.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a big machine to feed.
Yeah, exactly. and we have bigger brains, so that makes it.
Yes. Yeah.
We need more
calories.
Yeah, we need more food. And sometimes our stomachs get the worst of it.
Yep.
But it's worth it to feed our large brains.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'll tell myself. No, I think I need to go back into the guilt mode.
Because I've always heard feeling guilty about it definitely doesn't help. Just like
no, it makes me eat more.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm not getting on my horse saying I don't feel guilty, but I've always heard though when you're trying to quit doing something, like the way that you end up, not being able to stop is because whenever you do it, you fall off the wagon.
Sure.
And you start feeling bad about yourself. And then guess what you need when you feel bad about yourself? More
food.
of that thing that, whatever it is, food or whatever.
And there's some philosophies out there that talk about happiness and how to gain happiness. And food is one of the issues that I have. And, the funny thing is people will talk about their addictions. What causes you to drink or what causes you to shoot up or what causes you to have sex with random people or whatever. If food's mine, what causes me to eat? I eat sometimes when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also eat when I'm down. Well, I also eat to celebrate something good.
Yeah.
I eat when I'm happy to reward myself. I eat to reward myself for a good workout. Yeah. So it's like, I just need to find a replacement for all those.
Yeah.
So if I'm down, I need to find something. I'll go out and start running again. I need
exercise is actually a really good
you need to,
for that. One of the few good ones.
I guess I just need to find something to replace the reason I'm eating crazy food.
What about there's this one thing that some people do. I think it's called shooting.
Yes.
They take guns like out into the woods or like indoor specific places and they fire
fake animals made out of steel.
Yeah. Yes. I hear that gets done sometimes.
Yes. 2 liters get exploded.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some weird channels that actually personalize the 2 liters like they're alive. little weird.
Yep.
But we can deal with that. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can roll with that. But yeah. So they say they're zombies. It's a 2 liter. It's a 2 liter.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is weird. And some people even claim that it's training also. It's kind of strange too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's probably a highly respected training method, setting up 2 liters in the woods and then going through and shooting them. Because everyone knows that bad guys, one, they don't shoot back.
Right.
And they're bright colors.
And they're in 1.5 feet tall.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, that's enough talk about food though. It's making me hungry.
Yeah. It's making me never want to eat again.
Yeah. And one thing though, like sort of backtracking in a way about the gluten thing though, is it's considered like typically people think of that as like, oh, it's those left wingers out in California, which a lot of things start in California, so I can see how that comes that way. But that whole thing, it kind of also reminds me of another thing that has come up, especially on the Hickok 45 and Son channel recently, because of the Duncan Trussell episode. Which
Great episode, by the way.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Man, I've been watching him on Joe Rogan's podcast for a long time, and it was amazing to actually get to have him on the show and stuff. Yeah. It was cool. But one thing that a lot of people had a problem with was the fact that while even though he admittedly liked guns, that he also admittedly does not vote Republican. And and the thing is, it frustrated me a little bit to get some of that feedback, even though I understand it, and I don't blame those people for feeling that way, because it makes sense. Like, let's talk about it logically. Like, okay, if you support gun rights, who's going to know,
right?
In something that actually matters, unless you're voting for a politician that will make changes to, prolong our rights or to protect them or whatever. So I get that sense. But here's the thing that I think maybe some of those people are missing, or maybe they're just a lot smarter than I am, which is very possible. But the thing is, you don't really have a choice in that sense. Like, they're going to think liberal about things. Like, you don't have a choice. It's not like you can just grab that person and say, be Republican. You like guns now, son.
Right.
You're a Republican. Well, they're already going to think liberally. So would you rather that person just be liberal and not like guns, or be liberal and like guns?
Well, first let me tip my hat to you in having someone a little different outside of our typical gun community on the show.
Thanks.
I've been trying to get those guys on our show for years, and you do it in like 6 months. No, I was really excited when you told me about it. So, congrats on that. It's good for us to show different viewpoints in our community, because as much as this is going to make people's heads explode in YouTube world and podcast world, I have friends that voted for Obama both times, and they got an arsenal in their basement.
Yeah,
and they're extremely pro-gun. So there's always going to be people on both sides that are, you want to hear their viewpoints from the gun community. If it's the gun culture, the culture as a whole is everybody.
Yeah, the culture is not just supporters,
just Republican
it's everybody.
Gun. Now, I can see both sides of the argument.
Right.
But what I'm about to, throw out there kind of, steps on Duncan Trussell's viewpoint too. It goes back to attachments, like we said about the food and the ego kind of thing. Everybody wants to be a part of something. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants those attachments and those labels.
Yeah.
Don't believe anything you read or hear, regardless of where you read it, regardless of where you hear it, and regardless of who you hear it from. As long as it matches with your own personal logic and reason, that's how you go with it. And that's a quote from, I can't remember where, but it's a quote. Yeah. It's the shorter version of the quote is.
At least you said it.
Right.
So it's a quote.
So don't quote me on it, somebody else.
Okay.
If you quote it, put that quote and then say somebody besides Zeke.
Yeah. Someone Zeke knows or heard of.
I don't think I know. I think it was like an ancient quote. Anyways. So if you blindly vote Republican and if you blindly vote Democrat just because they're labeled that and you associate yourself with that, there are many, many times that Republicans and Democrats, whatever you are out there, have voted for stuff that's completely against what I'm for.
Right.
And I used to vote straight Republican, and I used to vote just what my parents did, you know. But here in the last, 5-10 years, I've really started to sit down and say, okay, what's the issue? Okay, what does this person think? What does this person think? Logically, this makes sense. Logically, that makes sense. Here lately, it's been a little bit more on the conservative side. But I have voted Democrat before. Most of the time, it's in the middle. It's the gray area. It's the libertarians. It's the constitutionalist, where I feel myself falling more in line with. But the problem is with Duncan's statement is I never vote Republican. Well, then we're back to the here is the ultimatum, never. Well, what if one of the Republicans someday agrees with everything that Duncan believes in?
Right.
And that's why, because here's the thing. Back in the 40s, 50s, it was flip-flopped. Or maybe earlys, 2030s. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Republicans were the more liberal ones and the Democrats were the more conservative ones. So to make a blanket statement, I never or I always vote X, I can't do that. Because I have Republicans that I've listened to and talked to completely against what I believe in and probably against what a lot of people believe in. Listen to this. They just haven't sat down and read their issues, read their platform. What's their platform as they run? And
politicians lie. You also have that factor. You don't always know, even if this person seems like they represent your values, they very likely don't.
Yeah. I mean, take all the facts in for yourself. I mean, what if someday there's a Democrat out there and he's 100% pro-gun. He's a little more socially liberal. That's kind of why he falls in the Democrat category, but he's extremely fiscally conservative. Are you going to be like, oh, because you're a Democrat, even though you're probably our best chance to lock in the Second Amendment forever and never, ever, I'm not going to vote for you because you're a Democrat.
Right.
And I'm not saying don't vote Republican or don't vote Democrat. I'm just saying vote what your own reason and your own logic tells you.
Right. And it's sometimes another thing too that people will say is that guns should be the deciding factor in how you vote.
Right.
Not necessarily. Everyone has a different opinion. Now it would be for mine probably, but not necessarily. Like I'm not going to fault someone that if most of their views are with a candidate, like if there's a candidate that represents like all of their views, like exactly except for guns, and that's more important to them because they're getting all these other things that they care about. Fine, vote that way. Because the way I look at it, anyone who likes guns is a win and call them guns. Yes. Because eventually, let's look at it this way. Let's say that all of a sudden, everyone who votes liberal just decided, let's say guns just swept the nation. Everybody decided they like guns.
Yeah.
Basically, 95% of the country agrees, guns, gun rights, important. Well, then what are liberal politicians going to have to start?
Would they talk like Neanderthals like that? Yeah, gun rights, important.
Yeah, they would. Guns.
Yeah, guns. Rights, important.
They would, because everyone knows that if you like guns, your IQ drops and you start to become more simple.
Right. And we just sit in our closet and we pet our guns like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all we do all day. We don't have jobs. We don't do other things in life.
Yeah, exactly. We put them all on the bed and then we lay down on the bed. And
yes. Well, I do that. I just don't do it all day.
Yeah. I only do it at nighttime usually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Depends on the occasion. And if I have a new gun or not, because if I have a new gun, you got to spend some time with it, cuddle it a little bit.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, it is.
It won't shoot as well if you don't.
Exactly. That's why it's so hard to sell guns, because it's like selling a member of your family.
Now, see, here's an example. Take this discussion and think, does what they're saying equal with my own personal reason? Probably not.
Right.
So I'm not going to cuddle my gun when I first buy it. But anyways,
exactly. So if all liberals liked guns, let's say, and I hate using those words even. I even hate using them. But in this sense, I kind of need to. You know.
Yeah.
But anyways, if all liberals like guns, then the only liberal politicians that would even get elected are ones who also like guns. So if you're a conservative guy, well, you might have to live in a very liberal world, but hey, you get to keep your guns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not all bad. That's the thing.
And don't make your entire decision based off of if they're pro-gun or not either.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things out there. I mean, yes, our Second Amendment is extremely important. It is the amendment that protects all the other amendments. Exactly. We all get that. We're preaching to the choir at this point. But don't make your entire vote decision based off if they're pro-gun or not. Because let's say there's one candidate. I'm not even going to use liberal conservative anymore. Let's say one candidate is pro-gun and one candidate's on the fence. He's never really voted anti-gun, but he's kind of on the fence. He's been flippy floppy, a little wavery on the gun issue. But the pro-gun guy is pro everything you're against and anti everything you're for outside of the gun rights issue. But then the flippy floppy gray area guy is for everything else you're on. And people like that are in the gray area, if they're educated in the right way, it's almost impossible to be anti-gun. So maybe vote for him, cross your fingers. Hey, he'll switch his mind. He'll turn his mind around a little bit on the gun rights issue.
Yeah.
But then again, don't do that because I'm saying it or John's saying it or Fox News says it or CNN says it or whoever you watch. Do it what your gut, your reason, your logic takes it, and you make that decision for yourself.
Right. Because I do think, even though the way our system is set up, it makes it look like certain issues are in packages. Mm-hmm. They're like it's a package deal, basically. It's not really how it really is. No. Because politicians just mold themselves, for the most part, to what they think their constituents are going to go for or not. And they buy into a certain package deal because people have bought into those package deals. But once more people are thinking more independently, then we can maybe get rid of this whole package deal thing, and things will be more single issue.
Yeah.
Which I think that would be so much better, because really, when you think about it, it's just crazy to me that, like, what are the chances that 40% of the country would think the same on everything? No, basically, there is no chance of that happening, other than the fact that because of how our system is set up in the media and the news and all that kind of stuff, is that we steer each other in these other directions. We end up being like parrots if we're not careful, you know. And I know we're somewhat preaching to the choirs. I think a lot of listeners, they're on that level. They get that very easily. But it's just, and you might be very genuine and you might think completely conservative on everything, which is great. I mean, it's fine. Whatever you believe is great, because that's, to me, that's what part of life is just, we all have our own way of figuring it out. But make sure you're figuring it out in your own way and not someone else's way. I guess is kind of the moral of that nonsense.
If you know you're an intelligent person and you know your logic and reason has not failed you yet, just stick with that. Go with it. Whatever you think is best for your vote, use it.
Right.
Don't just blindly vote Democrat or blindly vote Republican or blindly not vote for either one of those just because you don't.
Right.
And everybody else that don't.
Right.
Doesn't.
We need Dad here for the grammar.
Yes, doesn't. Everybody else that votes doesn't. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I see where people were coming from on that, but I also see where Duncan was coming from on that. And both sides were kind of against what I'm saying.
It's a tough one. It's a tough issue.
It's hard to say don't vote Republican ever, or don't vote Democrat ever, or always vote Republican, or always vote Democrat. There's some libertarians out there that kick ass right now.
Yeah.
And I just wish they had the power to have a platform and a voice when it came to the debates, because right now they haven't been getting that, and it's not fair.
Because I think there's a very large growing group of the population that's getting bigger and bigger all the time. And I don't necessarily want to label them as libertarian, because they all aren't. And I don't like using those kind of labels anyways. But people who basically are pro-freedom, and they like the idea of having guns to protect themselves and their families and, whatever. And then they also like the idea just of letting other people do things that they don't necessarily understand, but they understand that they don't have to understand it.
Right.
It doesn't hurt me. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what libertarianism is all about. But I don't even consider myself necessarily totally libertarian, because if like totally libertarian would be like business anarchy in some ways, and I'm not necessarily for that. I think there does need to be some, regulation and some stuff like that, because it's a big world. It can't just be left to the dogs.
Well, and another problem with the libertarians and a lot of the third parties is they've split into factions. There's the ultra liberal libertarians, and then there's ultra conservative libertarians now. Yeah. And there's still a few of the middle of the road ones, but they split because somewhere along the line, somebody figured out, hey, if we have society polarized on two sides, just like a football game, a hockey game, any sports thing where they're rooting for their side and their side only, then they'll sit there in society and just butt heads, boom, boom, boom. We'll do whatever the heck we want up at the top while they're doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the assault weapons ban from 2 years ago. We're all fighting pretty hard on it, and we won. System's not broke. We won. But what got passed in the meantime? NSA can look at our emails without a warrant.
Right.
So let's throw a heartstring issue out there so everybody can fight.
Yeah. Which, at least if they're going to look at our emails, could they at least spell check them for us?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Because I look like an idiot sometimes in my emails.
Yeah. That would be really nice. I mean, you know what? I could maybe get okay with the whole NSA spying thing
if they would make us look smarter.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think they want us to.
Yeah, I guess not.
Hey, NSA.
They probably intentionally go through and give us bad grammar. That's and misspell words.
That could be it.
Yeah.
My emails are probably typed very well, but then by the time they get to, high level people, they're like, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm gonna take. I'm gonna stay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. NSA changed it to make me look dumb.
Well, yeah, of course, the whole NSA thing, that's a crazy one, but I don't really worry about it.
No, I'm not.
I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I think it's messed up. I think it's wrong. I think it shows a lot of things about our government that are not positive by any means. But I don't sit around and worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you can't.
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, within reason, and I'm just gonna live my life. A part of it is about fear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Who knows? Maybe they even wanted that story to break. Maybe they aren't even capable of monitoring us.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just about fear. Yeah. That's the thing that I think it's important to be aware of. Is fear is just dangerous.
Before you and I get assassinated, I'm going to switch the subject back to something else.
Okay.
So back to the Republican Democrat thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave this to the answers, and I want to hear what everybody's responses are in the comments. Who was the worst president in the last 40, 45 years for gun rights in the United States? I'm just going to leave it at that.
We need like that Jeopardy.
Except we're not going to give you an answer. We want to see what your responses are.
Yeah.
Who was the absolute worst presidents for gun rights in the last 40-something years, 40, 45 years?
Yeah. It's easy to get yourself too down about worrying about the government and the economy and the poor people and all these kind of things and all this stuff. It's easy to get yourself down about it.
We don't worry about the poor people because we're on YouTube. We make millions of dollars a day.
It's true. Yes. I forgot about that.
We have to remind everybody of that.
I forgot. That's how we can afford these like gold lace microphones.
That's right.
And I painted it black so people wouldn't think I was too fancy. But
this is really about a $20,000 microphone.
Yeah, exactly. But understandably so. When you really start looking into things, you just go, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
And it's easy to do that. But the thing I always bring myself back to, if it wasn't this, it'd be something else. I'm glad that there is some interesting stuff going on in the world that's worth looking into. Think about it. Right? What if everything was fine? It'd be boring. If literally everything was fine and there was nothing to worry about, everybody had their two-car garage and a beautiful wife and perfect kids, and that'd be horrible.
Yeah,
that'd be horrible. It would become a hell, basically.
We would dumb down because there's no need for us to get more information and knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Struggle is the biggest part of life. So, I look at it. It sounds weird to say, but it's awesome that there's so much complexity and controversy and and struggle in the world.
Yeah.
We're trying to fix it. Yep. People should always try to fix it and understand it better, but that's what it's all about, in some ways. So, I try not to get myself too down about it because it's easy to do, but but it's all said and done. It's all that's just how life is.
You start going down some of those rabbit holes, the conspiracy theories grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And then at some point, you just got to stop.
Yeah.
Because you're going to waste your time worrying about it when there's so many good things you can do in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And there might be some validity to some of those. And even if there is to some of them, it's, what are you going to accomplish? That's why I always try to bring things back, to the fundamentals of life. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody getting along, well, not everyone's going to get along, but everyone at least realize that we're all just human beings, on this spaceship of a rock,
It's hurtling really fast.
Yeah.
Around a flaming ball of nuclear waste.
Exactly. That has an unknown amount of resources that we all rely on so that we can continue to have our subjective experiences in the world, you know? So it's like, we worry about these differences like race and all these ethnic things and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, there's differences, but we're way more the same than we could ever begin to be different is the thing.
Talking about all the differences, we were talking earlier about the NRA.
Yeah. And
kind of the different things they're trying to do to change their image, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's good. I think that's a good thing because the other side does have this idea that gun owners are old, wealthy white men. Which, if you're an old, wealthy white man, my dad's one. There's nothing wrong with it. My dad's not wealthy, but there's nothing wrong with it.
I'm broke. I guess I'm middle-aged now, kind of, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
I like to consider myself young. I'm broke, and I own a lot of guns, and I'm middle-aged. So
yeah. I'm white.
I am white. There's one of the bunch. But there is a lot of gun owners out there that don't fit. A lot. Probably the majority now.
Right.
That don't fit that mold.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that you see more and more diversity in the ranges when you go to shoot.
Right.
There are still some times where I see some people looking down on other people, not necessarily race, even sex. Yeah. Looking down on women that are by themselves with an AR-15. Oh, they should be training with the 38 special that's pink.
Yeah.
Gun ownership.
That's another thing. Pink guns. To me, like that would seem like that's patronizing, isn't it? I don't know. Do women like that?
Unless you love pink and you want a pink gun, that's cool. But
I guess.
But I've seen it in gun shops before. It's like, hey, I want to buy my wife a gun. Well, come over here, and they go straight to the pink 38 special.
Yeah, I know.
So, my wife's got a Glock 17.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And she shoots it better than the 38 special revolver she has too.
Oh.
But we always argue how the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is a human right. It is.
Anyone who's human deserves it.
Right. Let's go back to the whole argument that we've had on the show before. We didn't argue, but we threw it out there.
Right.
Quit arguing the Second Amendment. Quit. Let's take it out of the picture. Let's say there's no government, there's no Constitution, there is no Second Amendment. If John comes at me with a steel pipe, I got a right to come at him with a steel pipe, right? Right. If you come at me with a knife,
except I might try to tell you that you don't.
Yeah, you might try to tell me that I don't. But there's no government, remember? So there's no laws to tell me what I can and can't do. You come at me with a knife, my natural instinct is to have a knife and come at you. You come at me with a gun, same thing. If I had access and you had access to a Sherman tank and you come at me with a Sherman tank, I've got a right to come at you with a Sherman tank.
Probably would just make a lot of noise and not hurt anybody.
It wouldn't hurt anybody. But what I'm saying is you have a right to defend yourself with whatever that other person is coming at you with. Now, you also have a right to defend yourself with something that may be better than that what person is coming at you with. Because if somebody's coming at you with a knife and you think I'm about to get stabbed, you're allowed to draw a gun and shoot them.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be a fair fight. Right. That's one thing that I've argued with people before about. Right. It's like, if I'm in my house, minding my own business,
exactly.
I don't care if that bad guy comes in with a knife. Right. I'm going to use whatever the easiest method is that doesn't allow a potential for danger to innocent people to dispatch that issue.
Right. So with us arguing that it's a human right, it's a natural, innate right for you to be able to defend yourself with whatever you need or you have to, then it's a human right. It's not an old white guy that's rich will right. It's not a black right. It's not an Asian right. It's not a Middle Eastern right. It's not a woman's right. It's not a man's right. It's a human right. So it's really cool to see the NRA reaching out and showing different aspects of gun ownership. They've got Colleen Noir on there now doing NRA news. They've got Gabby Franco, who's a female, and she's from Venezuela, doing a phenomenal job there. Chris Chang. Who else? They've had people that are tatted up, full sleeves, come on there, former military guys. They're just
no
showing
long hairs yet, right?
Do they not? I don't think I have seen any long hairs, have I?
They're discriminating.
They are. you freaking hippie.
Yeah, that's what they need. They need like a real like hippie,
a pro-gun hippie.
Yeah,
like, dude, man, I may be blitzed right now, but I'm safe with my guns when I got them out. Yeah. That would be hilarious.
It would. Like a Tommy Chong that likes guns. I wonder if he does like guns.
I don't know. Probably.
I mean,
he's all about complete freedom and liberty.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
I bet you he probably does. You know what's bugged me lately? Not to change gears, but Snoop Dogg has now come out.
Oh my God!
Oh man!
Let's talk about that campaign.
Oh man, yeah. I'm unloading.
I'm unloading.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's make an advertising campaign for everybody to unload stocks that are probably in 401ks and mutual funds that will cause you a penalty and lose money for you. Oh wow, that was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen.
And Snoop Dogg of all people, you can't have it both ways, man.
Who apparently has shot people and
which I bet he has. I would definitely say like the original, some of the first rappers and stuff that come out, like they were gangster rappers, like they were gangsters that were rappers. They didn't just talk about the lifestyle.
Ice-T,
except for Tupac, he wasn't ever in the gangs. But so, come on, I mean that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
he just couldn't turn the money down. That's all that was.
We need to do an I'm reloading campaign.
Yeah.
We need to do the same thing with a bunch of YouTubers. And all of us have that white screen background. We're sitting on a stool just like they're all doing. But instead of saying I'm unloading these stocks that are, gun based, we need to just show the NASDAQ symbol for all the gun companies. I'm reloading. I'm buying stock in this and this and this and this. All the publicly traded gun companies.
Honestly, if you're going to invest, I mean, I don't know much about playing stock market or whatever, but I would assume gun companies would actually be pretty good to invest in.
Well, I know investing in guns themselves. Think about this. Let's say we have an economic complete crash. I'm talking worse than the Depression,
right?
Where our money is absolutely worthless. Gold is worthless. Silver is worthless. I guarantee you, I can take a gun to somebody that has something I want. No, wait. Hang on. That was coming out bad. I can have a gun as currency to take to somebody that has something I want or need, milk, food, whatever.
Right.
And it's going to be worth something. Because in that kind of situation, people are going to need and want firearms and ammo.
Protection and food.
Right, exactly.
Cigarettes.
So all of a sudden, guns and ammunition become currency in the situation like that. Prices of guns always stay the same or increase.
Yeah.
So I would imagine it's a dang good investment.
Yeah, it'd be it's going to go down like
everything.
But
let me take that back.
But it'll keep from just totally crashing though.
Firearms as purchasing firearms and keeping them are good investments. Not necessarily always gun companies, because then you've got the human factor in it. You've got people who can be corruptible and maybe end up, running the company into the ground. Well, your stock's worthless at this point.
Yeah.
So
that's true. It's funny. I remember back in 2008, whenever there was a lot of talk about like things were getting bad and all, and they did for a little while, I guess. The housing market and stuff. I remember I was in college at the time, and I was thinking, like, I'm gonna go out. I've never smoked cigarettes, but I was like, I'm gonna go out and buy like 5 cartons of Marlboro Reds and just keep them just in case, because I was like, that'll be currency, at some point.
That's awesome.
But I ended up buying an AR instead. So,
there you go.
So that was probably a better idea.
It's probably worth more money than when you bought it now.
Yeah,
especially in 2008.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is, and anyone who's been in guns for very long has been through this, especially Sandy Hook, and then a smaller version of it happened in 2008. Where you have a gun, so I just bought that AR probably a month or two before Obama was elected.
Right.
Now, regardless of how you feel about that, this is something that happened, and everyone remembers this, I would think. The price on AR skyrocketed. I mean, they were getting bought up like crazy. Not quite as bad as Sandy Hook, but it was pretty serious. And I remember thinking, like, wow, I could literally double my money on this gun. Like, I paid $800 for it. I could probably get $1,500 for it, probably. Or 16. Do some better math. I could probably get $1,600 for it. Yes, easily is what I was thinking. And but the thing is, you just don't know. That's the thing. That's what makes it hard. It's like you want to take advantage of those situations, but you just don't know. I mean, that's why they're so expensive, because that could be the last time.
Exactly.
That they go for those prices. Like after Sandy Hook, that was scary.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the Twilight Zone. Every gun shop you went into, just calling no ARs, no rifles of any type like that. If it took a detachable magazine, you weren't going to find it.
No.
Unless it was a bolt gun. If it was semi-automatic detachable magazine, it wasn't going to be there.
No.
That was just that was a bizarre time.
And then we had it again.
When we're talking about since then?
You talking about Sandy Hook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since Sandy Hook?
So I just spaced. I mean, dude, man, I talk like a hippie for 10 seconds and my brain works like a hippie for 10 seconds, man. Woo. Anyways, you lost me. I started thinking about something else and I came back and you had jumped to the next scenario.
Too much short-term memory loss, man.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though. Short-term memory. That's where all the bad stuff is. So who wants to remember that?
For some people.
Yeah. It depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah, it depends on what your life was like.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I had a great life.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yes, I did.
I have to say, life has been great doing this. Like this whole new media and YouTube thing, podcast thing, and
you always hear the conversation where people say, you do something you're passionate about, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah,
I'm finally experiencing that.
Yeah, it's real.
It's not from YouTube and podcast on my end. It's more the SDI thing. But I love it, man.
Yeah,
we're making some big waves and changing some things.
Yeah,
it's good.
Which is awesome. As people listening know, that's our new sponsor now, and which I'll probably throw. Sometimes I do the ads in post. I add it at the beginning, and sometimes it comes up in conversation in the beginning. I just forgot to do it since you're on here, but I love that worked out, because that's such an easy thing for me to talk about.
Yeah,
we're always real picky about, because of people. We're trying to maintain a independence when it comes to the things that we want to have unbiased opinions about, when it comes to guns and stuff like that. But that's an awesome thing, though, is when it comes to if you're trying to get involved in something like we just said that is your passion. That's an awesome way to do it.
And the whole reason I wanted to get Talking Lead rolling with Left Hand was I wanted to make a change in the industry. There's a lot of weird marketing going on in the industry. Just not weird as in bad or detrimental, but it's just crappy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to put it. Some of the business practices, they're not exactly smart and on point and on the way to grow a business the proper way. And I wanted to make a difference there. Talking Lead was kind of a slow grow. I mean, y'all know how it is. You're YouTube. Podcasts are very similar. You get an initial big bump, but it's a slow grow.
Yeah.
SDI came along and gave me an opportunity, and it's not an opportunity where it's just another online school that they do gunsmithing and they talk about guns. No, we've got a blank canvas. We've got an awesome opportunity to create this into something. Well, we already have. It's something that can benefit the industry immensely, and we've got the accreditation from the DEAC. We've got the DOE. We're going to be getting recognition from them and getting Title IV and all these different things that are going to benefit the students left and right. But at the same time, we have an associate's degree in firearms technology, and people hear that and they kind of blow it off. Okay, neat. Associate's degree in guns. We're the only accredited school in the country that has any kind of degree, associates and above, that's accredited. And we eventually want it to be where you have specialties. You know, you've got business and marketing in the firearms industry. You've got gunsmithing in the firearms industry. You've got training in the firearms industry. Lots of different things. And as we grow it, the number one way to make a difference in anything is education.
Right.
Education. And we have this opportunity to really make a huge impact for our industry. Right now, we're looking at starting a scholastic shooting team. So our school will now have an athletic department, and I'll put that in air quotes, where we'll have students that are enrolled that are, you know, we'll have tryouts or recruit them or whatever, give them a full scholarship, and they'll go out and compete with the Florida States, the Harvards, the Yales, the Texas A&M, Texas, Tennessee, all these schools that have scholastic shooting teams. And then they even have an opportunity to be in the Olympics. And it's like, oh my God, how cool would it be to have one of our students that are on our shooting team in the Olympics? And the reason we thought about that is, you know, most gunsmithing colleges and trade colleges, once you graduate, that's it. Everybody else, you know, that goes to UT or Florida or Florida State or Alabama or wherever, they get to follow football, baseball, basketball, all these sports and kind of have something to kind of latch on and follow.
Yeah.
Nobody in the firearms world kind of has that if they have a gun program. Now we're going to, you know, so it's going to be really cool to see that grow. But yeah, there's just so many cool things that are coming out of this. It's really exciting to see the industry embrace it.
Yeah. And
us being able to work with all these companies, saying, okay, we're teaching about your firearm. Tell us what we need to teach the right way.
Yeah. I like the idea of what, and that what was that class that you were, that associate's degree you were just talking about? What was it called?
Firearms technology.
Yeah. So that's basically like something you can get if you want to get, not just learn to be, that's not like a gunsmithing class. That's like if you want to work in the firearms industry, right?
Right. There's
cool.
There's a gunsmithing attachment to it, and that's going to be one of the specialties.
Okay.
Right now, if you take the associate's degree, that will be your specialty. Will be the gunsmithing. But there's also other stuff. You'll have a business class. You'll have a marketing class. But with if we do the marketing and business in the firearms industry, we're going to have a more beefed up version of that side.
Yeah.
And we're gradually working on that right now. Right now, it's just, you know, the gunsmithing part is within the associates. But the cool thing is a lot of these guys, over 90% of our enrollees are current active duty or vets. A lot of these guys don't think they'll ever go to college. Oh, well, guns. Hey, you know, I'll get into college I can do that. I know all about guns anyways. They come in, they realize that wasn't so bad. Then they go on to get their bachelor's, the MBA, and everything else. Our associate's degree, the credits are transferable. Of course, the firearms credits aren't because there's no other degree program with firearms right now. I think Murray State is starting one up in Kentucky, but it's just gunsmithing. So all of our general ed credits will transfer. So you'll be able to transfer those in, but you actually have an accredited associate's degree when you go through. So it's fun. It's fun building it and seeing it grow and all the cool things that are happening and a lot of cool things to come. Hopefully in the next year, you'll see some really neat stuff coming out. Yeah,
that's cool because, I mean, you know, if I wasn't doing this, I think I mentioned this before one of the shows. Like I would want to get some kind of job in the gun industry.
Yeah.
You know, now, and I wouldn't necessarily thought of that before, but now that I've been at least closely enough involved where I kind of see how it all works, I would love to be a part of that. And there really isn't a good way to do it before, really, I guess, because okay, I mean, basically you just get a marketing degree or something like that or whatever at just some regular college, and then you just tell them that you have an interest in guns and you try to, you know, do the best you can.
The biggest problem with marketing programs, they're great programs for every other industry. As most people listening, the gun industry is a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah.
Being able to market to gun guys, it's different. You know, we like different things than somebody that you just market, you know, I can't believe it's not butter to.
Right.
You know,
and there's different like things that go along with guns. You know, you've got the you know, the politics of it. You know, you've got the fact that, you know, it's something that it has to be reliable. So it has that aspect of like the car industry where, you know, it has to be reliable or it can be dangerous.
There's a lot more legal and liability involved.
Yeah.
than if you're just, peddling, Velveeta cheese slices.
Yeah. Velveeta cheese slices.
Why do I keep talking about food?
Yeah.
Butter, cheese. So it's different.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to get some people that are very prominent in the industry and the marketing to write that textbook and get that program going. So that'll be good.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And how is it that the because I'm kind of unclear on some of it, like the builds.
Yeah.
How does that work? So is that part of the gunsmithing school, or is that just like if you just want to learn how to build a specific gun, or you just want to build one, or how does that work exactly?
We have you have the gunsmithing program. Within that program, you get the AR-15, AR-10, or Ruger 10/22, or now 1911 build.
Okay.
You get an 80% lower, and I say or, I'm gonna make that real clear. You get one of each, or not one of each. Ooh, I screwed that up again. No, you don't get one of each. You get to choose of one of those,
right,
as your build. If we gave you one of each, this would be the most expensive program ever.
Yeah.
So you get the build there. It's 80% lower. You got to learn how to mill it out yourself. You got to put it together. You got to fit. You got to do all these things. We also have the armorers courses that are standalone courses. So if all you want to do is learn how to build an AR-10, AR-15, 1911, you can do that. And you just take that course. So that course is part of the gunsmithing. It's also part of the associates. But if you just want to take that, you can do that too.
Something's got to keep me in some of this high tech equipment. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and it is a cool thing. It really is a cool thing. Like I wouldn't take a sponsor. I didn't think it was cool. So,
and I can vouch for that because through people I've met that want to sponsor him and their channel, they're very what would the word be?
Selective.
Yeah, I was gonna say stringent, but that sounds harsh. It's not harsh.
Yeah.
Y'all want to make sure it's a right fit for what y'all do.
Yeah, exactly. Because with this whole new media thing, at least from everyone has a different idea of how they want to run their own new media thing. And Dad and Oz has always been to embrace the newness. Is that even a word?
The newness of the new media.
Yeah, the whatever. To embrace that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing. And part of that is like, advertising makes that difficult because, it complicates things. So we want to try to,
y'all could never have a gun sponsor.
Exactly. We could
because
never do
all of a sudden, if you got sponsored by freaking Car Arms,
right. It ruins it.
And then
all
of a sudden you start seeing a lot of Car Arms, firearms on your show. It's kind of like,
yeah, what's going on here?
Is this legitimate? Or what's the deal?
Yeah, it ruins it. So,
which some channels are set up where they can.
Right.
It's like I explain to people who don't know who Hickok 45 is. I kind of say it's kind of like the Google of guns on video.
Yeah.
Because I can go to your channel and type in, XYZ 9mm or whatever, and typically you have a video on it somewhere on there.
Which that's a good gun, by the way. Have you ever shot one of those?
The XYZ 9mm? Yeah, it's awesome.
They're hard to find.
They're expensive as crap too, man. Yeah. But so yeah, you've got this kind of Google of guns. And I mean, before I even knew you guys, when I would look at a new gun, I would see if you had a video on it, So yeah, it's hard to find the sponsors that can fit in that world.
Right.
Ammo, you could maybe make it happen, or
that's because we took a federal sponsor. We basically said, you know what, we don't ever do anything with ammo anyway, so we'll just any sponsor we have, we kind of give up our right to review it or rate it, right? So you're not going to see a video where we're reviewing all the different accredited gunsmithing colleges,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Or ammo, because we never really have done that, and we never really were planning on it. So we're like, okay, fine,
right? It doesn't really affect it as much,
right? But when it comes to guns and we don't really do a lot of gear stuff, but we try to stay away from that too. But anyways, but we're trying to embrace the whole new media thing.
Hickok Tactical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is it's like we have to make sure that we align ourselves with something that it's good, that people like it. And there's going to be negatives about anything. Like with Bud's Gun Shop, for example. Yeah, there's people who've had bad experiences, of course, and we hear from them a lot and stuff. But I mean, it's with anything. I mean, if any kind of big business, there's going to be people who have had, bad experiences.
Yeah.
So, we aren't, wizards. We can't just, well, we are, but.
You look like one.
We can't just automatically know all the information.
John, the Ginger Wizard. Yeah. That's the new name. It's not Hickok 45 and Son anymore. It's the Ginger Wizard Show.
But I'm not redheaded, though.
You're kind of redheaded. It's kind of reddish blonde. It's like strawberry blonde.
Okay, I guess
this is getting uncomfortable.
We're talking about my hair color.
That's right. Okay, so guns. Guns.
Guns.
Yeah. So the next subject was murders.
No. Well, not quite that intense. But,
yes. Okay.
Okay. So I've talked about this some. And by the way, I told you and I talked about on the show. I bought off of Amazon these 3 anti-gun books.
Which I love that you did that.
Thanks. I thought that would be an interesting thing to do.
Well, I think I told you this before too. We were talking about religion or something like that, and I'll just use the majority probably that are watching. If you're a Christian, do you want someone learning about Christianity from a book written by a Hindu?
Right.
Probably not. So to really get inside of the heads of these anti-gun people, I think it was smart to kind of get in and read, as long as you can, filter out all the BS, see what their mindset is, and then you have more
ammo.
Exactly. Yeah. You have a better insight on how to debate with them.
Yeah, I hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Yep. And I'll admit, at times it was painful trying to get through these books.
Oh, I bet.
Because you know what? Reading I've read one of them so far, and it's called Gun Show Nation. It's like by Joan Burbeck, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I finished it about a week or so ago. It's the first one I've read. And reading through that book, the experience was very akin to you've had that. I know everyone's had that childhood experience where some kid started something and then something happened and then you got blamed for it.
Right.
And then the kid is telling the teacher his side of the story and you're sitting there listening and he's saying something just totally wrong. And you're like, oh, come on. That's not what happened,
Yeah.
It was like that. It's like I'm just standing by just going, oh, come on. I want to it's like I wish there was a comment section in that book.
For the book,
yeah. But as painful as it was at times to, power through that book, really, I'm glad that I read it because the thing that particular book really kind of opened my eyes to, I guess, a little bit. And I would say it's just written by one person, but I would say it's probably very representative of how a lot of people feel that are anti-gun. Is they view guns in this country, the people who like guns, as it's strictly a cultural thing. There's it's based on ignorance. There's no real reason for wanting to have guns. It's only because we've seen them in movies or government propaganda. They even said that. They even said that in that book, or that she said that the guns ownership was a result of government propaganda, like Buffalo Bill and the Wild West shows and all this kind of stuff. Military heroes, some of that.
She was saying that back then in the Buffalo Bill days, that's why gun ownership went up.
Well, she was saying that was part of it, that they were just selling guns, and it was like they're selling.
So it had nothing to do in living in less civilized situations where wild animals and okay,
yeah, exactly.
All right, continue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
see what I put up with reading this thing. But that a lot of it was, and also manliness. We want guns. It's like a man thing, and also there was a ton of racially charged stuff in that book, which should have been too expected. But I mean, the term "white man" was probably used in that book 100 times. I mean, it was insane how many times that was used. So. And she talked a lot about the the old American rifleman issues from the 50s and stuff. Yeah. How it really catered to wealthy white men, and that not necessarily that magazine per se, but the whole gun culture preyed off of the fear of wealthy white men against minorities, and totally circumvented the whole self-defense issue. Basically, there was really no talk of that in the book as far as the actual legitimacy or illegitimacy of the self-defense aspect of why people want guns. It was all about the culture. It was just the culture of gun owners and how they've been misled and how they're ignorant and all this kind of stuff.
Okay, now you're just getting me hot. So you've got a culture back then, or your main source of sustenance was hunting.
Right.
And I remember looking at some of the antique books, like the American Rifleman and everything that you're talking about, and all the little, Saturday evening posts. It's this guy with his son, and he's teaching him how to shoot a rabbit or a deer or whatever.
Like real Andy Griffith stuff.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you think, I mean, probably a lot of the people that watch your show have ranches or farms or have woods or land. When you're out on your property, especially in the summer months, there's snakes.
Yep.
There's a huge wild boar problem, and wild boar aren't timid.
Right.
If you're in their territory, they're going to attack you, and they can do some nasty damage to you.
Oh yeah.
There's wolf. There's mountain lions. There's all these things, and especially back then when there wasn't as big a civilization as we have here in Nashville. Or
what's so funny about it is like we all the time, as gun people, talk about the government propaganda to try to take away our guns, and they try to I don't even call it brainwashing, whatever, but they try to like make us feel like we don't need guns, they can protect us, all that kind of stuff. And she's looking at it the other way. She's saying that it's the government that is making people feel like they need guns and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I can call 911 when there's a rattlesnake on my front porch.
Yeah.
And they'll drive out there and shoot the rattlesnake for me.
Exactly. Well, one of my favorite pro-gun arguments that I've heard is very simple. And it's like, all that's well and good, trying to reduce the amount of gun violence, gun crimes and more cops. And okay, I get it, right? But what about your family?
Yeah.
Like what about your house right now?
Yep.
Who's gonna be here to protect you right now if someone busts down that door?
Yep.
And that's the one answer that nobody has.
Nope.
Unless they're just lying to themselves. I mean,
well, and a lot of them will say, "Well, I'll call 911." And the immediate question you should ask in response: do you know the response time to your house if you called 911 at any time of the day?
Right. And plus, I don't like. And here's the thing: is I'm doing the whole suburbia thing right now because it just makes sense. I'm not. YouTube doesn't pay as well as some people think it does.
Don't let them lie to you. We're in like one of these high rises in downtown. It's like $1 million a square foot.
Yeah, exactly. Wall to wall flat screens. But so it's like a Cracker Jack house suburb, but it works for now. It's a rental. But anyways, I live in there's houses like pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
And so let's say the house across from this one, there's a guy over there that doesn't like me for some reason. He decides he wants to kill me.
Yeah.
The only thing, let's say there's a cop in the house right next to him, and he's like, Ranger Rick, and he's always looking out his window. Mm-hmm. If that guy just says, "You know what? I've had it with that Big John guy. That's it. This is the last night I'm putting up with
the
him."
Ginger Wizard.
Yeah, and he just grabs a gun, busts open his front door, and just sprints toward my house. And then that cop says, "Oh man, that looks like trouble," and he goes and runs after him. Still,
if he's carrying at the time,
if he's even carrying,
he could be in his pajamas.
Still, that guy's gonna get here before the cop.
Yep.
And he's gonna bust in my house. I'm gonna have to do something, even though that cop is right there on his tail.
Yep.
It's gonna come down to me.
Yep.
So even in that extreme, very of course likely scenario, because this has happened at least 4 or 5 times I think since I've been here.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry you live in such an unstable neighborhood.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people just don't like me around here for some reason. But
they don't like your wizardry.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing. You can't. Police they were going to try their damnedest to protect you, but they can't. It's just logistically impossible.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that you can't hide from. That's the thing. Of course they'll debate like, okay, well. Then, we're not saying don't have guns. Just a double barrel shotgun, Joe Biden special is good enough. Is good enough. Yeah, okay, fine. But the thing is, like, again, it's not supposed to be a fair fight. You know what I mean? It's not like he's the. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm just enjoying whatever I'm doing, sitting in my house, doing what I want to do. I shouldn't have to feel like, oh, here we go, time to. Fair fight. It's like, no. I mean, I want to just take care of it simply and quickly.
Excuse me, sir. What do you have to attack me with? Okay, hang on one moment. Let me go see if I have one in my safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. But yeah, back to what I was saying about those books, though. I think that.
Now, you read one by Bloomberg, right?
Well, that's the one I'm starting on now.
Yeah.
It's called, let's see, I got it sitting right there. Reducing Gun Violence in America. It was based on there was some kind of summit that they had after Sandy Hook, and John Hopkins University like put this book together based on that summit.
Yeah.
And I think the summit was organized by Bloomberg, I'm pretty sure. But there's a foreword in there that was written by Bloomberg, but the rest of it is written by someone else.
Sure.
But it's oh my God, it's it's gonna be tough to get through it.
And you said at this point you've already read a point where he contradicted himself with the gun violence rate, but then it was majority suicides.
Right. So I was reading in there, and it said that in 2010, 30,000 people died from guns.
Yeah.
And 18,000 of those 30,000, yeah, well over half was suicides. Like, I mean, we're not going to talk about the issue of suicide. You know, that's a whole nother can of worms. It's tragic. You know, there's issues with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's a problem. But when it comes to gun violence, like the average person sitting in their house, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. You know what I'm saying? As far as that goes, I'm not saying it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's a sad thing that happens. But as far as innocent person sitting in your house, it's not a threat to you.
What I don't understand is why it's specifically gun violence.
Exactly. That's another point I like to bring up. Yeah.
You know, why is it that they're trying to fight, gun violence in America when there's 30,000 gun deaths last year, whenever it was that you said? And let's include the suicide. The per capita of that, we've got over 300 million in the United States now, and there was 30,000 deaths from guns. How many of those too were self-defense? So let's take out the suicides. Let's take out the self-defense.
Right.
Because I'm sure they're including that in there.
Oh yeah.
To make it sound horrible.
Right.
Horribler? Wow.
Horribler. And of course, gang violence is probably, I would say, I mean, the thing is, every morning in Nashville, when I turn on the news, if I do, someone's probably been killed somewhere in Nashville.
Yep.
And
it's not always guns.
Exactly. It's not always guns, but based on where it happens a lot of times and the circumstances, just from my ever so slight brief experience in law enforcement, it has to do with the drug game. Like there's an insane amount of gun deaths that are just strictly as a result of black market industry.
But my question is when there's so much more violence with other instruments, even your fist, even your elbows, hammers, screwdrivers, knives, why focus so hard on gun violence? Yes, I get it. Guns are quicker for the most part. I don't want to get into a debate on what's quicker to kill people.
They're better at killing and
they're more efficient to kill and injure.
Right.
I get that part. But why are they harboring so much on something that has such a small percentage per capita of violence and death rates in the United States?
Yeah.
How much money did Bloomberg pour into this whole anti-gun thing? Billions, right?
Right.
What if he would have taken that and put it towards research on severe disease?
Yeah, cancer research, heart disease. Yeah.
I mean, how... I'll never grasp it.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever will. And I think probably because he knew if he poured money into this, it's a heartstring issue. So then we'll fight back harder.
Right.
And he'll have more justification to do more on this.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
None of it makes sense to me.
It's frustrating. And one of my big things is it doesn't matter how you feel about the drug war and the legalization of certain substances in this country. It doesn't matter when it comes to the gun issue. What does matter is that a lot of this, gun violence is a result of these substances being in really high demand, and it creates an underground business that is huge, whether you want to admit it or not. It is massive, insanely huge. And the only way that people can regulate it is by killing each other, shooting each other. And a lot of the gun violence gets blamed on that. And innocent people, other than stray bullets and stuff, aren't at risk of that. It's people who are involved in that, for the most part.
And we're always going to have, for lack of a better term, assholes in the world.
Yeah.
They're always going to do stupid stuff with whatever they have.
Yeah.
there's people out there that if they don't have a gun to go out and do random violence, they'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, they'll figure something out.
I mean, if a guy in Russia can stab a bunch of kids with a knife without any ever getting stopped, it can happen here too. Or was it Russia or China?
I think it was China.
Yeah. It can happen here. It can happen anywhere.
Right. Explosives. That's another I like to remind people. So explosives are really the most dangerous.
Yeah.
When you think about it, and they can be made from household objects.
Mm-hmm. So are we going to ban all that stuff?
Yeah.
No. It makes me really want to dig deeper. I don't have time to do it, but to dig deeper in why people like that, like Bloomberg, are attacking something that's such a small percentage per capita of violence.
Right. And that's
when there's violence as a whole.
Right.
It goes back to our first. What a great wraparound.
Yeah.
Why am I attacking McDonald's for a decision I made?
Right.
No, I made that decision. I was the idiot that went and got a double quarter pounder with cheese and large fries and and heart attack in a box.
Right.
That's my fault. It's not McDonald's fault.
Right.
They just found a way to capitalize off of it.
Right.
So why attack specifically the gun industry when it's such a small percentage?
And you get into the thing that's always boggling my mind that I think about every now and then is these politicians, are they ignorant? Are they dumb? Or are they really smart? If they're smart,
why are they doing this?
Then what's the real reason that they're doing it? I feel like that's an important question that doesn't get asked very often.
No, I agree. I will be going to my local military surplus and buying body armor tonight because this show will probably get us assassinated also. No, it would be like me blaming the caramel mocha latte I get once a week on me being overweight when I eat fast food every day of the week.
Right.
I don't, but that's kind of equivalent. Me attacking that, it's Starbucks. It's that one Starbucks I get on Tuesday mornings when I'm eating all this other crap all week long. It's kind of like, well, it's guns. Guns are the reason our life is hell when it comes to violence, when it's really not when you look at the statistics.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So why? Why?
Yeah, yeah.
Unless he had even then, I don't think he should argue the gun violence or the Second Amendment, but unless he had some plan that he laid out. First, it's guns. Then we're going to attack knives. Then we're going to attack hammers. Then we're going to attack fists. And then when it's all this, they need to be attacking mental illness and the reason people do stupid stuff.
Yeah. It comes back to, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, laziness. People are, naturally,
we want to blame something.
Yeah, if lazy, then that's where it gets complicated. Again, like I said, if that's even what it is, if they don't really know and it's some other reason, but the people who genuinely do believe in the stuff that we're saying, it's laziness. It's like people want to blame the thing over themselves because it takes the pressure off of themselves.
It boils down to this. When Sandy Hook happened, the anti-gun people wanted to blame the gun. We wanted to blame, I've heard both sides. It's the kid's fault. The kid did it. He's stupid. Right. Whoever did it, it's their fault. It's what's in their head. But then some people on our side were like, quit fighting the thing. Let's fight mental illness. How do you fight mental illness? It boils down to this. Bad happens.
Yeah.
It happens in this world, and it happens often. Is there a way to possibly fight bad stuff from happening? And better mental health care
might help.
Are we capable of that? We'll look at our healthcare system now,
but it's not going to take care of the problem.
No, it's not going to take care of the problem because the majority of the people that do these horrible things, what do you hear when they catch a serial killer? The neighbors are like, he was such a nice guy.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
Yep.
It always, when it happens, is like snap, and they're doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So will better mental health actually stop it? Probably not. Will better medication for mentally disabled people? No.
Yeah.
Because if they decide one day to quit taking it and they snap, they do it. They're going to do it anyways. So we're back to.
Would you rather live in a free world or a safe world?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was kind of going to be what I was going to say next is like you you want so bad for everything to be perfect, but we don't live in a perfect world. So that's one of the reasons we should have a right to own firearms and protect ourselves.
Yep.
Because I've said it on our show, and I'll say it again. If you come to me tomorrow and you have empirical proof that we are now a perfect world, it's utopia, there's no crazy people, no one will ever hurt you, your food will be provided for the rest of your life, and you have proof that I can look at and I'll reasonably go, wow, he's right. There was a switch that went off in the middle of the night, and I no longer have to protect myself. I no longer have to provide food for my family. Fine, here's all my guns. Great. But guess what? It's impossible. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. It will not happen.
Yep.
And even then, I'll be like, but I like my guns.
Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe if they have some kind of virtual reality where you think you're shooting
here's your
guns.
regulator where you can only shoot it with targets. You know?
Yeah.
Whatever. But that will not happen. You can't do it. It's impossible to have that happen.
Yeah.
Even in places where they've tried utopian society.
And you wouldn't want it to happen.
No.
Kind of like we were saying in the beginning. Like there has to be a push and pull in the universe. That's how it works.
Right.
Like that's how it works.
You get better.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like that's how an engine in a car. You have the piston, it goes up and down. It can't just go up forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird example, but it's sort of like that. I mean, you have to have a push and pull or
what makes you better at anything you do? And this is why I love that freaking movie Whiplash. A lot of little pansy people are going, oh, have you seen Whiplash yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's amazing. Everybody go watch Whiplash. It's about a drummer that gets pushed and pushed a little bit too far, but he ends up being amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, well, gosh, that's a commentary on how hard people are. No, it's a commentary on if you get pushed hard, that's how you get better.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, feel good. Everybody loves you. It's okay. You messed up. No, it's like, you were horrible. I can't believe you did that. This is the right way to do it.
Right.
You and I both played basketball.
Yep.
If we had coaches that were like, oh, that's okay. That post move wasn't that great.
You tried your hardest.
So we'll give you the points because you tried hard and patted us on the butt and we were all fine. No, we would have sucked. We would have never gotten to the level we did.
Yeah.
It took tears and blood and sweat, just like military. The reason our military is some of the best is because they get pushed to the limit. When you get pushed, you get better.
Because we're lazy. We have to be pushed.
Right. Right. We have to be pushed.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to have those differences and those pushes and the pulls, like you said.
Right.
That's how growth happens. Growth doesn't happen from, great job, Johnny.
Right. Exactly.
But
and that's why we're so
tall. We
tall.
lost by 40. It's okay.
Yeah. That's why we're so tall, right?
Yes, exactly. We got pushed hard.
A lot of growth.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, appreciate you guys listening. And
hang on.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And I'm calling it out because I don't think anybody has seen this on your videos.
What, that?
The cat thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? You need to take a picture of it and give it to your editor to have it in there. But I'm not a fan of cats. I think cats are evil and snobby. And he has this poster that says how to tell if your cat is plotting to kill you, and it's awesome.
There's a whole book of it. It's those people, Oatmeal, they like create these little comics and stuff.
That is awesome. Cats are evil, man.
I'll
play with you, and I want to play with you.
Yeah.
Where dogs is like, play with me, play with me.
I think it's because they're like a lot smarter than us, probably.
Cats?
Yeah.
They're evil empire.
Yeah.
That's really what the heart of it is. Cats told Bloomberg to write that book.
Yep.
Yep.
That's it. We figured it out. Case closed.
That's the end of, that's your rap for every show. The cats are doing it all.
Yeah.
Do we say bye now?
I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Bye.